Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers, and we're back! Season 2 of Comics Revisited starts right now with Marvels. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, this is
Jelani Bullard,
and we're here to talk about Marvels. Marvels, the 1994 classic, written by Kurt Busiek with artwork by Alex Ross. When we were growing up, we were like, what? Like probably 13, 14, 15 in that range, right? Marvels was a big deal when it dropped, right? It was really the first time we ever saw Alex Ross.
Right.
Like he had done like that Terminator book, but then this, right? And Kurt Busiek had been around doing books here and there, but he wasn't a name yet. This made his career.
This is it.
And then he went on to do an amazing Thunderbolts run and Avengers and a little bit of Iron Man and just doing great stuff. Astro City as well, right?
City.
A lot of his explorations that he does in Astro City start in the book Marvels. So this year marks the 25th anniversary of Marvel. So me and Jelani decided, let's go back and do it. Because back in season 1, way back in season 1 of Comics Revisited, we revisited Kingdom Come, which was actually the audience choice poll winner. So we'll be releasing a poll very soon, so be sure to check that out over at the PCP Army for our audience choice comic review in season 2. However, it was appropriate, we felt, to come and do Marvels at the 25th anniversary. So recently, Marvel has released these annotated editions, which are super thick. They're like $8 cover price, but they reprint the issue, remastered, and it's got notations, annotations, if you will, about each and every single Easter egg in there, what exactly the comic books that are referenced, where they all take place. So much good bits in there. It's also in a trade paperback right there if you want to pull it out. There's a couple versions. There's this one, their original printings. There's a remastered version. They all have different covers, different ways to get Marvels. I believe the annotated is being collected soon. We'll throw links below and all that stuff. But that's a little bit of the history. Kind of came out, and really what it was retelling Marvel history from the Golden Age through the Silver Age, from the perspective of the everyman, right? The reporter, Phil Sheldon. And at first, he's just a photojournalist, but then he actually becomes a journalist, also a photojournalist. He's writing a book. He's experiencing the comic book heroes from the outside, right? And what's really cool is that they give a very realistic tone to this book, from the World War II era all the way through. Jelani, overall, what do you think about Marvels, your recollections? What about the story?
As a kid, like I'd never seen such realistic art and realistic storytelling from anyone, and well, not for real, and especially in this phase of Marvels, because Marvels is an overarching story, and you don't really see the main character interact with any superhero.
Yeah, that perspective's completely an outsider's view.
It's removed, and it's an outsider's real view, and he follows it well, and it follows the times. Yeah, it follows the history. Yeah, you're right, of the Golden Age and the Silver Age of comic books, and how it would be really hard to live in New York City. Yeah. And what it would actually look like. Yeah. Like,
Kurt Busiek says, like, I used to wonder what would it be like if I'm walking down Manhattan Avenue and Iron Man comes through. Would it shake the windows? Would I hear it? How loud would it be? Where could I get it? And Alex Ross really, wanted to bring that hyper-realistic approach. Right. But it doesn't take it outside of comic book art. It doesn't do it so realistic where it doesn't feel like the classic comic books. This feels so classic. It feels so connected to what Kirby and Romita and Ditko and company were doing. It feels just like so genuine, right? So the first issue, and actually there's a Zero issue as well, a little bit about the Human Torch. Because Marvel started back in the days of Timely Comics with Marvel Comics #1. Was it #1? That was the first appearance? Yeah, it was #1. It's #1, 1939. The Human Torch and Namor the Submariner. Right. Bill Everett, Carl Burgos created those characters. Captain America followed soon. So the first issue basically covers that wartime era, but it doesn't really... They had a lot of rules about continuity and what they were going to cover. Like, for instance, they didn't want to add in retcons of any newer characters, so they didn't want to put Wolverine in there, because even though Wolverine existed in World War II, they didn't want to put him there because he didn't show up until 1974, and they didn't want to do that. They did take some liberties with Ben Urich when they got to him. And J. Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson's in the first issue, unnamed as Phil's friend.
Really?
Yeah, did you notice that? That's J. Jonah Jameson. But they didn't name them because they were like, well, and current, whatever, right? It's basically told in the real time.
Right.
So the 40s are the 40s, the 60s are the 60s. It looks like it, it feels like it. You got little cameos from like the Monkees and the Beatles and things like that. But that first issue is about Human Torch, Namor, and a little bit of Captain America.
A little bit,
but it really focused in on the Human Torch, and that was something that was really cool reading back then when it first came out, because I wasn't very familiar with the Human Torch. He wasn't really used too much. I hadn't read the Roy Thomas and Vader stuff where he did all that. So what did you think about that first issue with the Human Torch?
I never really read those. And I never really had the experience with the Human Torch. I mean, I just knew he was a robot caught on fire. Yeah. And fought crime. That's all I knew.
Marvel's really humanizes him.
And they've made him, isn't he, or wasn't he Vision at one point?
Yeah, supposedly at one point it was his body that they made the Vision out of. Now, Kurt Busiek kind of fixes that and makes it fit because they both exist.
At the same time.
And it kind of makes it fit in Avengers Forever. He addresses it. I don't remember the intricacies of how so, but Avengers Forever is also written by Kurt Busiek, one of my favorite Avengers stories. The second issue is mostly focused in on the early 1960s period, so the advent of the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and the X-Men. My favorite issue might be issue 2. Issue 2 is amazing because
it's the art on top of it.
The art is great.
The art is amazing. But that's when it really explodes.
Yeah, and then in that second issue, it's all this hoopla about the wedding of Sue and Reed. And so you have this like super happy, celebrity obsessed. You know, they're viewing these.
And it's a culture. Yeah, it's a real culture. I mean, people were like the Fantastic Four were famous. Yeah. At that time, and they were like socialites and well-to-do people. Yeah. But they were fighting and doing adventures. Yeah. And so it's
the wedding was this big media.
But that's how the comic books were written.
Yeah, that is. Yeah. And you know, it really pays a lot of respect to that.
It does.
While all that's going on, they paint a picture of the inherent racism against the mutants that are going on. So, and Phil, and it's a bold move to take the character Phil and paint him as a mutant hater. Yeah, he's basically playing the role of a racist, right? And they explain why he got caught up in it without forgiving him for it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he did it. That whole story with the little mutant girl is so crazy. But I love the idea because we'll get to this in a minute. But Kurt Busiek was very meticulous about this continuity, so he would read all the early Marvel stuff in the order that it was published, and he would piece together a timeline of what happened here and where they were during this and that. And he realized, when he pieced it together, that the wedding day of Reed and Sue was the night of the Sentinels. Right. And so then you have the riots. And so you have this amazing, and I love it, even Phil says, like, Phil like steps on a newspaper article, which is, those newspaper articles are either written by Kurt Busiek or they are, and they're representations of articles and things that were written in or drawn into the artwork in the originals. But I totally distracted myself. We were talking about that. But so, he steps on the newspaper. And he's like, oh my God, was that this morning? That was today? What do you think about that issue? I
love that issue. Like, it's
You're
so
a big
bright.
X-Men guy.
Yeah.
And I'm a big Fantastic Four guy.
Yeah. And it works together. Yeah. And my favorite issue, of Marvel's. It's so good how they portray the mob. Yeah. How mad they are at these X-Men, which they're just there to help. And it's apparent that they're trying to help. And it's dark, and it shows that dark tone, but then before that, it's the wedding, and it's bright, and it's lovely, and it's like a celebrity's dream. And you do, the light and dark of it in one issue, and the fact that it's woven together like that, it's amazing.
It's a brilliant plot.
I love it.
Perfectly paced
issue. My goodness. And Phil is a great everyman character because he throws himself into all of these situations. It's just somehow, it's his life. Yeah. And he can't, like, his family's going down and he's not doing what he should and all these other little things are going on in his life. And he's still, he's still a guy. Yeah. And he still doesn't like mutants. He's still, and it shows it very well. It tells that story very well.
During these giant epic cosmic battles of good versus evil, it's about this dude, and he starts getting so fascinated with the Marvels, as he has started to call them, that he actually starts being distanced from his family. And then that comes to a head in issue 3, which takes on the Galactus trilogy. And it retells, and Alex Ross straight up redraws Jack Kirby's stuff, but gives it all one-page splashes on the left side, and then on the right side is the little tiny bit of fill. He winds up realizing that what's most important to him is his family. He goes back to his family to be with them. And Kurt Busiek says that his mother, who knows nothing about the continuity, so it seems like since this is such chock full of continuity and little Easter eggs that you got to be a Marvel zombie in order to enjoy it, right? But he said his mother, who knows nothing about that, didn't understand any of that, but picked up the metaphor. She goes, issue 3 was about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Because I remember what it was like. The fear of a force outside of my control that might end the world. And how tense that feels.
That's what it was.
And they do a great job of showing that terror, of reimagining that Kirby stuff on a scale that makes it look so real. It makes Galactus, who is a big, tall dude in a big purple hat, look so threatening.
He's threatening and menacing.
So otherworldly.
It's just, wow.
So scary. Oh, man.
And those splash pages, man.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It is a great issue.
Beautiful. And then it wraps up in issue 4, and it shifts, and the Silver Age, by a lot of historians, we agree that the Silver Age kind of ends with the death of Gwen Stacy. Right? Yeah. Some could be argued the advent of Wolverine or something like that, but the death of Gwen Stacy was kind of like the death of the innocence of the Silver Age. Yep. And it's very representative of that. So it's very appropriate that they end it that way. Phil gets... Because one of the great things about the character of Phil is he goes from wonder to fear to disillusionment to limitless youthful hope again when he meets Gwen. And he sees the Gwen who Spider-Man is accused of murdering her father, but she goes, he's just doing good. It wasn't him. Right. And he just and then she dies because Spider-Man's unable to save her, right, from the Green Goblin. What do you think about the wrap-up and how they use the death of Gwen?
I love how he connected with Gwen Stacy, because he was done writing until he met Gwen Stacy. And he was like, oh my goodness, I think I'm going to write a book and another book. And I want to, help Spider-Man because everyone is painting him as a murderer. And it's just... man, I love this book.
Yeah,
this book is so rich.
It was such a joy to read.
And it's the whole point of how he wants to exonerate Spider-Man, at least the public eye. He wants to make sure that he knows that these heroes, these Marvels, are there to help. And he shows it, in every issue, he gets mad at people that try to hate. And, make sure that, because, sometimes Tony Stark is losing his contracts. Oh, I love that stuff too.
Yeah, all that.
But
and it's because he's a journalist, so he's super prone to it, and the fickleness of the public, how they love to. It's just like celebrity worship. Yeah. They love to raise them up, and then they love to tear them down. Obviously, we see that. We see that.
But you see it so much, and like he did with Gwen Stacy, like how it hurt him.
Yeah.
To know that he knew this woman, and she was an incredible person, and just could not survive this.
Yeah.
And he did assume Spider-Man would save him. Or save her.
Yeah.
So it's a great story.
He realized what that blind faith
lead to.
And then he basically gives up, leaves it to his Martha. His new assistant, because he's getting old. He lost his eye, by the way, back in World War II. And so it's very appropriate and a nice metaphor, too, because he even says, I've lost my eye. Mm-hmm. A long time ago. Right. And she is going to go off, supposedly, and make a documentary. And Busiek had some plans to do some sequels. Like, he was going to do a sequel called Marvel's Crime and Punishment, and it was going to capture that Wolverine, Punisher, 80s era. That got nixed and eventually became Astro City: The Dark Age. A lot of what he deals with thematically is also elaborated more even fully in his own superhero universe he creates with Astro City, and of course Alex Ross did covers for that. That's a great book. We should
do Astro City.
Yeah,
we're just gonna get all of them.
We were just really thinking about this.
Yeah,
so let's jump back to the art. We kind of skimmed through our love of Alex Ross. Who doesn't love Alex Ross? You just look at his images of the DC characters, like in Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come and Marvels are really two nice bookends, where it's a tribute to the beginning of Marvel, and it's a warning about the end of DC. So I really like the bookends there, and Kingdom Come with Mark Waid was like the next project he did right after Marvel. Yeah. Marvel's almost seems like it got swallowed up by the success of Kingdom Come. Because I hadn't read this since it's been like 20 years.
It's almost 20 years, man.
And I was blown away.
Long time.
Because I remember going, we'll revisit Marvels. I remember liking it, but it wasn't Kingdom Come.
Right.
No, I don't. I don't think they can be compared, but they are both equally good. They are both so good. I just love it. So, Alex Ross's artwork.
Alex Ross.
And the importance of the realism. Tell me how much you love Alex Ross.
I love Alex Ross. He makes realistic people. He shows if it's a 40-year-old man, it looks like a 40-year-old man. And I love the attention to it. I like how he makes characters celebrities. The people that were celebrities. You were saying that
the professor
was
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah. And Timothy
Patrick
Dalton.
Stewart.
Yeah, he was Professor X.
Alex called that.
Really?
Think about it.
Yeah.
He did that in 1994.
He did. He looks just like him.
And then, 6 years later, Patrick
pretty
Stewart.
much Patrick Stewart.
Timothy Dalton as Tony Stark. Heck yeah.
Yeah, they had Popeye in there, man.
And the suits look real.
Them.
But they still look comic booky. The Iron Man armor looks exactly like it does in the comic, but it still looks like it would exist in real life.
Yeah.
Silver Surfer has a mirrored image, so you can see the reflections of the Fantastic Four sometimes in some of the when the sky's on fire in issue 3, it looks so chilling. When Cyclops is the advisor is the only light effect in that alley.
That is so amazing.
And it makes them look so menacing. The artwork is so important to this story because the story
tells so much.
The story is about an everyman's outside perspective on the rise of superheroes. It's also an allegory and a metaphor there for comic book fans. Mm-hmm. We get into it. We get a sense of wonderment. We love superheroes. We just can't get enough of them. One day, this always happens to us comic book fans. We've all gone through this cycle. You start getting disillusioned. You're like, oh, it's all the same stuff. Nothing changes. It's just something new. It's something different. And then you eventually either continue to repeat that cycle. You get back into it. Your hope is renewed, a la Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
And then maybe you get disillusioned. And then maybe at some point you go, it's not for me anymore, and you move on. It's actually a story of a comic book fan.
It is.
Right? I love all that. And it was very, very important that Alex Ross be the
storyteller. This wouldn't work without Alex Ross.
It wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked on that level.
Yeah.
The story would have still been good.
It would have been a good story, but without the artwork to tell it.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing. It's breathtaking how he makes everything look like that. I mean, you bring back the X-Men. And I said I love the cover with Angel holding the kid. I mean,
they're holding their bigot signs.
Yeah. It's, how he draws it, man. It's amazing. I'm sorry, I can't stop.
It's powerful.
Yeah. Alex Ross is a gem.
And the story's not too shabby either. And Kurt Busiek, like we were talking about, had a very meticulous method about this. He borrowed a whole bunch of comic books from Carl Kiesel. He had to get like film to read the Golden Age stuff. He had a bunch of masterworks piled up. And like I said, he read it in publication order and pieced together a timeline. I would love to have that in here, his timeline.
That would be nice.
Every time there was a newspaper article, they would do their best to replicate the actual image from the original comic book. Alex Ross would put things on would take established comic book panels and just put a different perspective on it, or look at it from a different way, which is
how you do it.
Exactly the same thing as put a different perspective on it. But anyway, he would actually, Kurt Busiek would type those articles out. Alex Ross would get them, they'd have them, and he would actually glue it onto his artwork and then blend it in, right? And just nice. It's really cool. Yeah. Really meticulous storytelling from both Alex Ross and Kurt Busiek in this one, and it shows. And the way that the story is plotted, one of my favorite things about Busiek's work is he cares and he loves superheroes. This book could be said that this book may be kind of like a deconstruction type thing, but not really.
It's not really.
It's about a person's disillusionment that they get with
or
life
his wonder of everything.
It's his wonder and then the disillusionment you feel afterwards, But I think that the everyman's perspective is so important, and of course Ross being on the artwork made that work so much. But I love that about Busiek's work, and if you read Astro City, even these god figures and these marvels come across as a god, and it doesn't go out of its way because Busiek loves superheroes, and you can tell.
Yeah.
He doesn't go out of his way to make them flawed or have some kind of dark secret there or anything like that. He just straight up has them there. Alex Ross makes them look wonderful. It's not about them, this book. It's about their effect on us.
It really is.
Right? That's absolutely what I think it's about. How important is this book, Jelani, to the comic book industry? to history.
I mean, I think it's pretty high up there.
Yeah, it launched Alex Ross.
Yeah, it made Kurt Busiek.
Alone, yeah.
Yeah, it transformed so many things. Like, we'd never seen artwork like this before. Not really.
Yeah, we had seen a little bit of Joe Jusko stuff, but we never even that stuff doesn't. Level. There was something about Alex Ross.
It's a realistic.
It looks
comparison.
mythical and realistic.
Yeah, it looks like a hero standing in front of you.
Yeah,
and that's what all of his artwork looks like, and it's just it tells it shows the details.
Yeah. Of
how it looked like right now, and it's very I don't know how to put it, but I when I was a kid, when I read it, I was like, wow, this looks great. But then I started to read the story too, on top of what it was, a lot better.
Yeah, and
it pulls out so many emotions out of you.
It does.
So it's very important. I want to say, like, it should be in the Rushmore of things that you read.
It's one of Marvel's one of Marvel Comics' best products.
Yeah,
one of their best graphic novels ever.
Yes,
it's probably one of the best works from Kurt Busiek. Absolutely, it's one of the best works from Ross. And what's crazy is you can read it and you can still even go, that's a little early. It's not as refined as it is, but I think part of that it's a little bit more washy than his artwork is now.
It is,
but part of that, to me, makes it so haunting and so wondrous and so reflective, like as if it's a memory.
Yeah.
It is nostalgia encapsulated.
That makes total sense.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And another bit that's really important is if you ever want to have a crash course on Marvel history, read Marvels. And Marvels will stand true. It
keeps you up,
throughout the it will always
it holds up. Canon. It's all of it.
It's always going to be canon.
Yep.
Pretty much. Even time period accurate, but it doesn't go out of its way to pay attention to the time period. No. But it does appear to be in the time period. Or like the 60s, the 70s stuff could be in the 80s.
Yeah.
But it's in the 70s.
But they make
and
the 70s.
we know that. I would have liked to see Blade in it. That'd have been cool.
That'd been cool.
That'd been
but
really
I mean, he was in the 70s, right? He was just right at the 70s.
Yeah. He.
Or was he in the 60s?
Maybe he'll be in that little epilogue. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool? So, some of the themes, of course, we've already talked about realism, and that was a big part of having that everyman's perspective and making it look real. I really think this book is also about a lot of things, and it's about us as comic book fans and us as people, and the way that the things that we look up to, the things that we put our faith and wonder in, the things that amaze us and thrill us, sometimes they lose their luster.
Yeah. And
sometimes you get that luster back, and sometimes it dies. And it's about how you move on. And it's about deciding what's actually important in your life. Because ultimately, he chose what was really important. And it has a nice cyclical type thing there with Ghost Rider appearing at the very end. That kid is Danny Kitch. So that's really cool. Yeah, but I think this book, in the midst of this journey, is about fear. It's about fear of God. It's about the fear of legend, of wonder, of mythology. It's about the fear of something different. Yeah. It's about the fear of replacement. You know, that's one of the things they really nail. J. Jonah Jameson says, if we allow this to be accepted, what are we?
Right.
And then Phil has those same thoughts when he's throwing bricks over the Iceman's face. Right. And I love that moment when he's trying to help the little girl, and he finds Beast and Iceman because he knows where they're going to hang out.
Yeah.
And it's all a reference to comic book stuff. Every single image, newspaper, it's a comic book. It really happened. It really happened. But he's now scared to approach him because he's like, what if he remembers me? And he's ashamed. Yeah. You know, and how he uses that. We don't know what happened to that girl.
We really don't. She's just gone.
There have been...
And he says he never sees her again.
Yeah, and there have been sequels made, like Marvel's, Blockbuster, Marvel's Eye of the Camera. Kurt Busiek did Eye of the Camera, but I never read any of those.
Never read those
either. I read Ruins, and Ruins is the Warren Ellis book where it's Marvel's, but it's in a parallel world, and it's really dark and effed up. Pretty bad, right? So aside from fear, I also think on the flip side of that, tolerance. And it's about that disillusionment, but it's about the ultimate acceptance.
He accepts it.
It's acceptance that all of this, the fear, the hatred, the tolerance, the wonder, the disillusionment, all of it, he accepts that is life.
Right.
That's the story of life. What do you think on those?
Man, you dropped some knowledge right there, man. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly because it tells that story. It wants you to feel that sense of wonder. It wants you to feel that sense of dread. It wants you to learn how, just to become a better person in some forms, or let things go, like you said.
And you don't have to be Captain America
to do great things, to be heroic. I think a lot of humans did their part to help, elevate these heroes to where they were. So, I mean, it's kind of like a symbiosis in this book. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the heroes need the people they're trying to save, and the people they're trying to save need superheroes to be there. Yeah. And it looks like that. It gives that give and take for that book, or for this book. And it's great, man. I can't stop talking about it.
It's great. And number one, Phil is the reader. Phil is you. Phil is your experience reading superhero comic books. And I just think that's one of the coolest things about it. It's a tribute to Marvel. It's a tribute to Stan and Jack and Steve and John and everybody else. They even make cameos in the book. Be sure to try to spot them out. This annotated version is super, super cool. I would really recommend this because it's got it's got full scripts. The artwork is just gorgeous. You've been seeing it in the video. You probably have already. This book is just, I love it. Buy it and read it if you haven't already. And if you want a crash course in Marvel history, there you go, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that's our coverage on Marvels. We'll also be talking about that Marvel's epilogue when it comes out. We'll maybe do a little extra.
Yeah, we should do something.
A little extra, little something. Really, really excited to be back here doing Comics Revisited for Season 2. 20 episodes. That's 20 comic book storylines that we think are legendary enough to revisit and talk about. Next time, join me when I'm joined by Brooks, the Magnificent One, and we're going to be revisiting Maximum Carnage because we are in the midst of all the craziness going on right now about Absolute Carnage. But before Absolute, it was Maximum, and we'll be talking about that. So thanks so much for your support. You can support further at patreon.com/PCP and unlock exclusive content like the PCP After Hours podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Join us over at popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts and a whole lot more. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups.
This is Jelani Bullard.
And, thanks for watching, Kramer. That's the best I got.
Kramer?
I guess it's Kramer this season.
Okay. Well, you saw him, Kramer. Okay. Sure. Kramer.